We had a chance to work together on a couple of various initiatives over the years. It's an honor to be here with you up here on stage. And I think for everybody here that hasn't heard the story, would love to just hear a little bit about kind of how you got started in technology and sort of what actually drove that and who are some of the early influencers in that decision.
So very, very long story made short. I've always, since I've been a rookie in the league, I've always tried to look up to the older guys, and I had some really good vets. Like, I've been really fortunate to have some good veteran players from Aaron McKee, Kevin Ollie, Corliss Williamson, all the way to vets who had a lot of money, such as Elton Brand, who's here right now. So I've been very fortunate. Like, I don't think many people understand the importance of having good vets, and always try to emulate some of the things that they did. So I think it started with surrounding yourself with the right people, not just on the court, but off the court. And just fortunate to meet Rudy Klein-Thomas, and through a rookie that I had that I was helping out, and we kind of gravitated toward each other, and we started working together a little bit. And, you know, he was always telling me about, you know, understand what the bank does for you. You know, understand where your money goes at the bank. You know, understand how their fees work. You know, they make money off you regardless of if they make money for you or even if they lose money for you. So he said, you know, take the onus on yourself and try to invest yourself, you know, a little bit of money. So I started the E-Trade account.
So everybody, please welcome Jaylen Brown.
So we started the E-Trade account, and you know, with his help, you know, it wasn't all just me, but he helped me a lot, pick some stocks, and then I picked a few of my own, and started me picking some things that I knew. And then he said, you know, venture out and start doing some research on things you don't know as well. And finding myself investing in some tech stocks. I remember Zynga was one of the stocks that we did really well on. And from there, we started investing in other tech stocks. And I think about after a year or two, our returns were just crazy. And, you know, from there, you start diving a little bit deeper and says, you know, this is the money you made post-IPO. You know, what would the returns look like if you get into a company earlier? And that's when you start learning about seed rounds. And I start hearing about it, you know. So that led me to ultimately have an opportunity through free agency to pick what team I wanted to go to. And, you know, the basketball side and the business side was just on the up and up in this area, and it was pretty much perfect timing for me. So that's how it all started.
Yeah. And Jaylen, we just got started, and sort of we're talking about how, you know, sort of you first sort of took an interest in technology, being kind of a new star and up and coming. Where did your interest in sort of technology business really sort of come from, and what are some of your early influencing factors in making that decision and that pursuit?
For me, it was right here in the Bay. I interned at a VC called Base Ventures when I was in college, actually. So during the season, during the tournament, you know, after we had practice, I'll head over to office and take notes from different guys. And as soon as the season ended, you know, a lot of guys take off because they know they're going to the draft. I stayed here in the Bay and spent some more time with learning about education before investment, private equity, things like that. I actually went to a couple of pitches. It's a YC batch that they have, like I think it's every year, every 2 years, where a bunch of people come and present to venture capitalists and see who's the next one up and coming. And I got to sit in on some of those meetings. And some of the things that surprised me was a lot of those guys were the same age as me, like 21, yeah. 20, 22, and already making $2 to $3 million per year, you know, in revenue. So that was eye-opening for me because, like, I saw the similarities between basketball and technology and startups and investments. Because a lot of times they talk about one-and-done players and things like that. Like, yeah, my body's a startup. You know what I mean? I invested in it early, and I took the opportunity that I had, and it was really smart. It's one of the smartest decisions I made.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, talking about the Y Combinator, for anybody not familiar, one of the leading incubators and accelerators for all startups here in the Bay Area, and encourage just sort of throughout the day, if you're looking for opportunities to get involved and get started, just asking for those type of opportunities, I think, are great ways to really immerse yourself. I think, you know, sort of both mentioned the Bay Area, obviously living here, you know, having spent time here. You were both here last year. You know, curious to hear, you know, from last year, what did you take away last year? Did anything happen last year from whether it be an investment you're willing to share, a partnership, a relationship, or just a key takeaway, right? Like I think it's a testament to everybody in the room here today that last year had a lot of value. We hope today has similar, but what was a takeaway from last year that's sort of carried through to this year?
I think for me, there was a lot of things, but what comes to mind off the top is we talked about content, and we spoke about the art of storytelling. And I think it was from Mav. Mav gave, when Mav came up, Maverick Carter came up, and he talked about the art of storytelling. He talked about a little bit about his journey starting at Nike and kind of learning the ropes from the inside and kind of taking that and turning that into his own ownership, not just working for someone, but working for, one of the top storytelling companies in the world. He's always said Nike is looked at as a footwear company. He said, no, it's a storytelling company. And you can kind of see the parallels from what he did with, or what the team of LeBron is doing right now with, they're telling a story with everything they're doing, from on the court to off the court with the school, and not just telling a story, but having impact within the story. They have their own production company. Obviously that move they made to LA, if you were paying close attention last year, you could kind of see everything rolling together with what we know where they're at right now. So that's led me to really take a deep dive into the content space. And we have a CEO from a content company, Hooked, coming in, and I've been fortunate enough to invest in that company. And some of the things that I don't know how far I can go with talking about that, but
fair enough.
I think that conversation from last year kind of opened my eyes to, that content space is, it starts with 10 seconds of your time, and then it can go into 20 minutes. So, that investment came after that conversation we had. So that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, if I recall, actually, Maverick was if he had to describe himself, he was a storyteller, and that's what he prided himself on, and that's what he tries to do. And Jalen, from your perspective, what was the takeaway?
For me, last year, just being a fly on the wall, hearing all the different stories, I think there was one kind of similar thing that everybody that shared, and it was they bet on themselves. Everybody took a risk in some sort of fashion with themselves to get to where they were.
Yeah.
And they were telling their stories, and that was one thing when I was sitting in the back that I jotted down. It was like if I'm a gambler, I'm gonna take a risk, it's gonna be on myself. And that was one thing that I took away. And coming into this year, I took a risk. I didn't hire an agent, so I haven't hired an agent, and I've been kind of passing on a lot of things, like a lot of deals that came my way. Not because I wasn't ready or anything. It was just because I feel like after this past season, I'll be in a better situation than I would be the year before. So it was a risk I took on myself, and it actually paid off.
Seems to be working out all right. So hope it keeps going there. Andre, kind of at your stage as sort of a leader and a veteran, both on and off the court. I think everybody's very busy, but you're very busy as well in both sort of personal and professional pursuits. How do you sort of find that balance, and just talk a little bit about your approach to how you either prioritize or think about the people you surround yourself with, and how you approach sort of the different investment opportunities, the different partnership opportunities that sort of come your way in your approach to particularly technology and investing?
I think it's just curating your surroundings and everything that you intake, from everything that's on my phone. I think the cell phone's a big thing right now for everybody, and I'm trying to set up my phone where it kind of works seamlessly with what's going on with my day. So everything that I consume, obviously my wife has scheduled everything for me, and moving things around for her. But she's doing a great job as well. So with the kids, with the family, having the right team. So I have a really good team from my business partner, I'm following his footsteps of kind of taking the responsibilities for, my brand and, the type of deals that I'm taking. So it's not just looking for an agent to do everything for me, but kind of taking everything into my own hands. So that was a huge conversation we had last year, as far as the role of an agent and how that's changing with the new age athlete. So doing my homework. So the things that I intake from articles, Rudy and I send each other articles every day, and any companies that that I look to invest on, or companies that I have invested in, keeping up to date with those. So it's just like I said, curating everything. So I'm up to speed on everything that's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And Jalen, sort of as your career is just getting started, what's similar about that approach? What's different? Sort of how do you think about how you focus your time, your energy, in evaluating new opportunities, and balancing sort of everything on the court, off the court?
I think that's the key, is balance. I've experienced probably a short amount, you would say so, in my 21 years, but I've traveled to different countries. I just got back from Indonesia, and the technology out there is amazing. And they described it to me as a third world country. And I went out there, I think it's blowing any country in terms of like city-wise out of the water in terms of like technology that I've been to so far. So getting to see these different experiences and taking them in and bringing them back into my own practices and balancing it into my routine and things like that. I think that approach for me has worked, and like I have a lot more to see, I have a lot more to understand, I have a lot more to learn, but understanding like how things work, I think that's key to doing business, and understanding like education and stuff like that.
Yeah. Speaking about sort of technologies and just taking in a lot, consuming a lot, what do you see actually as some of the most disrupting technologies right now? Either taking in the direction of things that are disrupting sports, the way we either play the game, engage, or consume the game, or if there's something else that's sort of really caught your attention or fascinating. What do you see as sort of some of the disrupting technologies that have captured your attention?
I think social media has really disrupted sports. And you see sports is the only live content that's left, so it makes it the most valuable. Everything else can be recorded. You can fast forward through advertisements. So where do advertisers go now? They gravitate into sports because they know that's when people are locked in live, and at the same time people can have conversations about it. And there's this whole world around sports that is very valuable. And what I've learned is the voice of the fan has become larger than ever because of that, which on the financial side is really good for business. But as an athlete, it changes kind of your outlook and your approach on how, sort of you start to look at things differently. And this will be my 15th year in the league. So, my conspiracy theories always pop up, but I think it's something you try to embrace. When you embrace it, you see the value in it. I get approached a lot about doing different types of deals through social media, some good, some bad, and you have to embrace it. You can't fight it off because it's something that's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm old. Yes, I'm old.
Yeah, you couldn't see Jalen laugh when Andre said 15 years. So, and Jalen, what about yourself? What do you see?
I think the online gambling, I think that is going to disrupt a lot of stuff. And I'm curious, it's trying to get going now. But I think the way, like you said, the live streaming of sports and how everybody's locked in now, I think when they kick in the online gambling apps and stuff like that, that's $1 billion industry. Hopefully the union can get a hold of it and we can get some BRI included. But that online gambling, I think, is going to disrupt a lot. Yeah,
yeah. We actually have a panel later today on that exact topic, and I think you're spot on. So we're here today in Bloomberg's office. We're in Silicon Valley. Got a great room of folks here. What are you either currently investing in a new opportunity, or what would you like to be invested in? Like, I think we have a lot of great minds here in the room today and in the area. What are some of the things you're not working on directly, but you'd love to see? What are new opportunities, again, whether it's in the game or personally, that you love to see, technologists, entrepreneurs, sort of focusing on more? Are there ideas that you think are big opportunities that sort of either are just getting started, emerging areas, or sort of that you'd love to be more involved in and currently aren't?
Well, for me personally, I think the education aspect. I know I've been involved with a few, but not directly, sort of indirectly. And you give your time here and there. There's a Hidden Genius project. I believe my wife's on the board there, but they do some amazing thing that gets kids from the inner city, African American kids, they get them coding at an early age, and from there they move up and they're actually teaching white kids from the suburbs how to code. That's an interesting dynamic. That's where I want to go next, and I've had a lot of conversations about it, and it's something that when you invest in something, it's kind of like give it your best shot, and wherever it takes you. But the education part, I really want to have a solid foundation laid, and I'm really looking forward to diving really deep in that.
Yeah, yeah. Jim, what about you? I know that you actually have a wide range of sort of passions and interests, ranging from technology to meditation to sort of social justice. What are some areas that you're looking to get more involved in, or would love to see this community or others, get more involved in?
I think education is the future, and he said that, and I'm gonna piggyback on it. I think that would have been my major if I would have stayed a little bit longer in college, but I think education is definitely the future, and in the part of the area, the part of the world that I'm in Boston, I think in terms of like education, I think that's one of the best cities in the United States in terms of all the different schools and all the different names and things like that carry MIT, Harvard, Boston College, Boston University. It's a lot of education in there, so I think developing the youth. I think the youth is like a big leverage because it's the future. You know what I mean? So I think that's a part of the reason why I'm here, being 21 years old and representing a lot of these young guys in the league and things like that, where the league is going. I think youth is a great leverage, and I think investing in the youth is, you can't really lose with that situation.
Yeah. Kind of just shifting gears a little bit here. I think we've all benefited from mentors and influences in our lives. Curious, you mentioned about vets early on in your career, and you yourself early on in your career. Taking a step back, who were some of the early influencers in your life? I think actually it'd be interesting to hear, both in the sort of sports world, the athletes that you looked up to when you were sort of up and coming, or even today, and also from the business perspective. Who are the CEOs or leaders or just influencers that have really impacted you and that you sort of continue to follow because you think you learn a lot from them?
From an athletic standpoint, or I should say both, athletics and business, I've been watching Grant Hill's like every move. I think Grant Hill does an amazing job of staying true to himself. Like, he doesn't really veer off to things that aren't really him, even if it's something that can make him a lot of money. And I think he's making really smart moves. He's done some things in the VC world, building a fund, using his Duke connections, at his disposal, whatever he's trying to do or whatever idea he's thinking of. He had a great piece, I think about a year ago, it came out about, how he vets deals and who he's got in contact with. And I think he's kind of like got the Jay-Z kind of like blueprint of things. It's like just keeping up with the trends, not falling behind, keeping up with what's current. But like I said before, staying true to his brand. And you still have the TNT thing. When he's commentating, he's not trying to do too much. He's not trying to be a Charles Barkley. He's not trying to be a Shaq, but he's who he is. And then before you know it, he's doing the Final Four. I was watching the Final Four. I'm like, that's Grant Hill's voice. Like, that has had a lot of power. And you seeing those guys be a lot of influencers. We have a guy here who's just in the movie. My young fella, Aaron Gordon. But he did a movie, and he did it with the whole TNT cast. It was Reggie Miller, it was Shaq, Nate Robinson, but the whole TNT crew. So you're starting to see athletes after they're done playing basketball still carry their brands, and Grant Hill's brand is one that I look up to.
Yeah, and speaking of commentating, you've done a little bit of that yourself, actually. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I did some golf commentating last week.
Okay, all right. A little foreshadowing there. And Jim, what about you? Who is a figure or several figures that kind of you follow and have just been a big influence?
I've had a lot, and you see the nowadays athlete changing in a sense, like it's being more modernized for athletes to be able to have other influences outside of basketball. I think that was a different dynamic 15 to 20 years ago. It was like a pushback. Now you see in this era, and I'm happy to be a part of this era, because now, like, you got athletes who are venture capitalists, you have athletes who are fashion designers, athletes who are politicians, athletes who are movie stars, etc. So for me in this generation, I've been influenced by a lot, like just people with multiple means of influence that haven't been put in like one box. Like Diddy is somebody I've had meetings with and I talked to throughout my career since I started, and he's kind of put the battery in my back in the sense that having multiple means of influence, like just being able to reach multiple crowds and being able to reach multiple brands of people, whether you're a basketball player, whether you're a VC, whether you're a fashion mogul, whether you're this or whether you're that. If a kid never seen me play basketball, maybe he'll see me speak at Harvard. If a kid never seen me speak at Harvard, maybe he'll see me play basketball or I was in a movie or something like that. Just being able to reach and multiple people and influence them in the right way.
Yeah. No, I think it's last year, this year, I think to your point, 15 years ago, very different than today, and just in terms of how I think athletes view themselves and the world views athletes. And I think it's in the right direction. It's actually, I told this story last year, but Joe Montana, who's here today, the first time I had the honor of meeting him was through an investment opportunity at a startup I worked at. And that was the conversation. Of course, it's always fun to share time with a legend, but that conversation I think is changing more and more. And I think it's great to sort of see the testament to everybody who's taking the time here today to see how those communities can come together. I think sort of as this season comes about and sort of this off season comes to a close, just curious to hear a little bit about what do you hope to accomplish both sort of in your playing career and outside on and off the court over the next year. Is there a focus area, something that you are trying to build on over the next year?
I'm trying to get a ring.
This is interesting that we're sitting here right now. Because this could be like June, we could be battling out.
Yeah.
Right at him.
That's a pretty good prediction. For me, it's just, like on the court, obviously, for me, I'm a little bit older, so your career goes by fast. And sometimes I take that for granted. I'm always like, okay, we won a championship, let's go win another one. And you win another one, it's like, all right, that was cool, but you got to win another one. Unless you win another one, it don't really mean anything. Then you get 3, it's like, well, it don't look really good unless you got 4. So you don't quite sit back and enjoy it like you should. So for me, each year that I get older, I try to, really embrace just the moments instead of looking forward. So having fun with my teammates. I'm always trying to teach the young guys, stand on the young guys, trying to bring them up, kind of like it's my duty to bring them up like my vets brought me up. So that's always there on both sides. So just looking out for my young guys on the court and off the court, trying to get them an understanding. I had a really heart-to-heart with one of my young guys about understanding the business of basketball, and he was like, I'm too young to have to deal with this, and then I had to kind of be the tough big brother and be like, it's on you, that's what this is about. You got to grow up really fast, and you got to cut out the Fortnite. You got to cut out the hour you might spend on social media just browsing, and you got to make the most of your time, because before you know it, it's all over.
Yeah, just to piggyback off what he said, like you have to use your leverage while you got it, and that's a part of the reason why I tried to start early. Not in the sense that I'm doing too much, but I think I'm just doing just enough to continue to focus on what my main objective is, and that's basketball. But also, build a brand and also, build a paper trail. So when I do step back from the game, it's not like I got to start over from the start. I got something already built and something already in work. Funny quick story though. Actually, I don't know if you remember this. I think I was 16.
I remember.
I was 16 at the NBA camp. I hated that camp too. And AI was my coach. He was the coach for the camp. And I remember, we was playing bad, but I kept playing hard. And he pulled me to the side and he was like, "You keep playing hard like that." He was like, "You might be all right," is what he said.
Yeah.
He said that to me, and it didn't mean a lot for him, but like as a 16-year-old kid, that carried a lot of weight. And then I actually seen him at the finals when I was in college, and he was like, he came. I haven't seen him since. And I'm just standing on the court doing something with NBA TV, and he pulled me to the side then too, and said some words to me, and I was like, wow, that meant a lot. And things like that, just giving back and speaking to a lot of these young guys, like he said he does. I think that goes a long way. I think as a group, as an NBA, I think we need to treat it like a brotherhood. You know, we got to bring each other up. A lot of times, like guys feel isolated, or guys are doing things like a lot of young guys. It's just like they only want to think about basketball, and nothing's wrong with that, being a basketball player. But it is when to have somebody older pull you to the side and be like, okay, this is what life is about. This is what this game is about. I think it holds a lot of weight.
Yeah, I mean, the responsibility and appreciated at the same time. So, listen, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you both for taking the time, sharing your stories and your thoughts. And quick round of applause, but I appreciate it.